another of the great Beyond Vaudeville guests, Suzanne. Are you there with us?
Yes.
Oh, hi.
Hello, Suzanne.
Hi, Suzanne.
Sorry, we were playing Jack Jones before, so we kind of let in there. He did a great Light My Fire, just for anyone out there you're live on the air, by the way, with WFMU and the Beyond Vaudeville guys.
How are you, Suzanne?
All right.
That's Steve, Suzanne, and hi, I'm Frank, and John is here as well.
Hi there.
I know your real name. Should I call you Frank or by your real name?
What are you talking about?
Frank.
Well, now, Suzanne, we didn't really get to give an introduction, but I should point out, Ms. Devens, that Suzanne has dedicated a good portion of her life to the cartoon character Underdog and trying to improve the representation of Underdog. Is that a proper description, Suzanne?
I think one mistake you made in your choice of words is that Underdog is not just another cartoon character. He's a superhero.
Mm-hmm. As opposed to, say, a Mr. Magoo?
Oh, okay, yeah, just...
Yeah.
Yes, being a superhero puts a character a step above being just an average cartoon character. Especially since the overwhelming majority of cartoon characters act much more human than they do animal. There are quite a number of animal cartoon characters, but they act far more human than they do animal.
Mm-hmm. Like Yippee Yappy and Yahooey, right?
They're a bit
Gophers.
Please don't jump ahead of me. They're much more on the comical side, and besides, I know which characters you mean, but they're a bit more on the comical side, and they do not have superpowers the way Underdog does.
Well, we should. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to point out Underdog's superpowers are through artificial means, though, right? Through the medication that he takes.
Oh no. That's a very hazardous fallacy. Thinking that he gets his superpowers only through some medical agent. Well, in the first place, his powers are patterned very much like those of Superman. Underdog was created as a kind of canine equivalent of Superman. Now, Superman does not get his powers by consuming some kind of medication. He automatically has them all the time. The same way we human beings automatically have a certain level of strength and energy all the time. But when we exert ourselves strenuously or expound our energy for a length of time, we become exhausted. We deplete our energy, and then we have to, recharge our batteries, so to speak, by taking time out to rest or perhaps consuming a commercial product that is supposed to restore whatever energies we've depleted. And
like diet pills?
What?
Like diet pills?
No, I'd say more like I'd say more like re-energizing sports drinks. Someone once described Underdog's revitalizers, not energizers. I must also point out that in the Underdog episodes, he did not use the revitalizer in every episode. Only every once in a while, and only after he became exhausted from having exerted.
That's right. Then you say, this compartment in my ring I fill with a secret Underdog energy pill.
Now you're getting into a point here also, John, that's very silly. And the one thing for people who maybe aren't familiar with you, Suzanne, is that you take issue with the way Underdog was portrayed in the cartoon. That voice, for example, that we just heard, was a bit too silly for the character, that it should have been more serious.
Did the character exist before the voice? So, see, I'm sorry, Suzanne, I don't mean to cut in, but I have seen their show several times, many times, but I'm not sure that I've seen you on it. So, I mean,
Wait a minute, what shows are you talking about?
On the Beyond Vaudeville show. on their Beyond Vaudeville show.
So could you explain to everybody?
I'm sort of a newcomer to your philosophy.
Could you explain the flaws of Underdog as it was aired?
Underdog was made to be too much of a not quite intelligent, half-witted buffoon. He was supposed to be a superhero, but he was made to act too comically, so that he was too easily made a fool of and entrapped. You may remember the Batman live TV series with Adam West and Burt Ward. Now, despite that series' enormous popularity, that made Batman and Robin a couple of clowns rather than meritorious hero role models.
And the same happened with Underdog.
Well, I don't think Underdog was that. I don't think it was quite as popular as the Batman series. I saw and heard about letters to the editor, complaints written and therefore published by dissatisfied viewers who didn't like Batman and Robin and their friends and adversaries being passed off as comically violent characters. They demanded either improvement or cancellation.
And you see now?
No, I don't know. I don't know whether Underdog fell into such severe criticism. I saw no notes or complaints or anything about that, but I just wonder how many viewers might have been prompted to take the same attitude.
Now you see, since that letter writing campaign about the comic portrayal of Batman and Robin, there have subsequently been a series of movies that are very dark and moody and mysterious, and at the same time noble and heroic, all about Batman. I'm talking, of course, about the Batman movies.
But
Do you see?
They went. You mean the one? You mean those? Well, you mean the more recent ones, showing it more as, kind of high tech.
Yeah.
But well, they kind of went to the extreme too, although in the opposite way. In one generation, you had him overly comical, as well as violent. Then a generation later, you have him too serious and also still too violent.
Suzanne,
Yeah.
and when they say you're dedicating a portion of your life to sort of writing these misconceptions, what forum do you use? You're on their show a lot, obviously. Do you do other shows? Do you write about this? Do you do other TV or radio shows, or
Do you do any other radio?
No, I'm afraid not.
So, how do you get how is it you're dedicating your life to or are they wrong in saying that? I don't know.
I don't dedicate every minute
Right.
of my life to kind of correcting misconceptions. In the first place, my medium, my artistic medium is interpretive dance, and also, you chose to bring up the character of Underdog. He's not the only character I do. Also, sometimes in my different dance styles, I may not necessarily do characterizations.
Right, but you did do. You created the character Spectrum, the Ghost King. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right.
Is that dance for dance? Mm-hmm.
Suzanne, also, when last we spoke, you were working on a comic book. We're just wondering, as one of the ways to educate people about Underdog, has that been completed?
I sent the storyline to the writers and illustrators, but the finished product hasn't come out yet.
Now, what was the plot of that story? Could you just let us in a little bit on what you were working on? I believe who was the villain in that story? Who is Underdog fighting in that?
Well, as a matter of fact, I had written several Underdog stories ever since I started doing them publicly. Now I don't know which. Frankly, I don't know which story you're referring to.
The one
because only a couple I ever submitted to be put down on paper.
Well, the one you described to us, I guess, when last we spoke, I believe there was a New York radio personality involved.
Oh, yes, there was.
Uh-huh.
The main adversary was actually the criminal scientist Simon Bar Sinister.
Uh-huh.
But
and he was in league with a radio personality?
well, you're kind of jumping ahead. Well, Simon Bar Sinister was always dead set against Underdog, and it always failed. And he figured that the only way to spoil things for Underdog was probably not to finish him off, but rather spoil his good name, so that he goes to this corrupt radio show host to do Simon's dirty work for him.
Mm-hmm. And you take this corrupt host on in the comic book? Now, is it you and Underdog in the book against Simon Bar Sinister and the radio personality?
Well, I'm made to go on the radio host's show, as myself. Although
against your will?
Yes. Although the radio show host is a complete stranger to me. I never heard of him. I tried to get all the facts beforehand, but he and his staff would not cooperate. So, and they asked me about Underdog, but exploited me. They spoiled my good name and Underdog's good name, so that usually it's the story deals with me, and then the traditional Underdog, the original cartoon Underdog, just kind of on the sideline, is shown being publicly disgraced because through that radio show, people got the wrong impression of him, especially a lot of kids who might never have seen the old-time cartoon series because it hasn't been shown in a real long time, are hearing of Underdog for the first time, and this radio show host is telling a bunch of outright lies.
Oh, I have an idea who that might be now that I hear the story. Yeah. So he wasn't nice to you then. Someone is calling in. Do you want to take calls, Suzanne, or is that not good for you? Sometimes people call in when we have guests. It's entirely up to you, but.
Well, I'm kind of afraid of that because
It's okay.
Some people hearing us might try to talk to me, and then they might mention something tricky, or even mention that radio show host by his true name when I gave him a fictitious name in the story.
Fair enough. That's fine. I would never have a guest take calls if they don't want, so no problem.
So how does the comic turn out? I mean, do you emerge victorious, or Underdog emerge victorious? Or?
No, I say that I'm still misunderstood. Underdog is still misunderstood, and more importantly, what Simon Bar Sinister termed polluting the airwaves still goes on, not only through that particular radio show host, but by a great many other media people who deliberately perpetuate half-truths, innuendos, and outright lies. And in fact, at the beginning of the story, Simon gives his assistant, Cad Lackey, kind of a crash history course on pollution of the airwaves, so that it's apparently okay to do it, although it's a gross misuse of our constitutional right of freedom of speech, press, media, whatever.
Is your comic book going to be available at any point in the future for people who are interested in getting it, or?
I'm hoping it will be out sometime soon. The only thing is, it wouldn't come out under general circulation. You have to get it through special needs.
So you'll probably have to get like a post office box or something, or a mail order thing for it, maybe.
Or you might get a number of copies may be printed at once, but they'd be available only in particular sites.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the large comic publishers have consistently stonewalled you, haven't they, in your attempt to get the underdog message out? Major media outlets have been remarkably silent. You haven't been invited yet to any VIP-only public events such as the Thanksgiving Day Parade or presidential inaugurations. Are you doing anything to address that?
I've been doing it all along. I keep some really prestigious events that keep rejecting me.
Have you heard from the Olympic Committee?
They happen on an annual basis. Each year, they send me the registration forms so that so that I'm on their mailing list. They automatically send me the stuff, but then they still don't take me.
Now, have you heard back from the Olympic Committee yet?
I haven't tried at all to get in touch with the Olympic Committee because I don't know the names of the people. I don't know the names of the top people. I don't know the address. In fact, that's one problem I've had in the past when trying to get through to some circuit that really counted. I didn't know that there might be a controlling up. I didn't know its name, or maybe I knew the name, but I had no idea what their address was or who their top people were.
I think it's Billy Payne down in Atlanta, I think.
I've had too many unsuccessful previous experiences trying to crack through to the top people, and I seriously doubt I'd be able to.
The Clinton White House appears.
Besides, they're only about 3.5 months away. They've got lots of stuff already figured out.
What about your dance act? Do you do that? Do you perform your dance in places like performances that people can go see, or?
Not very often.
No.
Well, how about the parades? Have you done any parades lately?
Well, let's see. Today's April 2nd. We're past midnight now. Well, last month I was in a couple of St. Patrick's parades.
Oh.
And in a character that she does called Irish Cinderella, right, Suzanne?
Yes.
Oh. And so for you adapt your characters to the parade, I guess.
Sometimes it depends. It depends on the nature of the parade. What's the occasion for it?
Do you have an Easter Bunny costume?
No. I've never gone for the Easter Bunny. Besides,
Do you have a Jesus costume?
Besides, Easter parades per se are not costume parades. The people participate in them wear street clothes. They're newly purchased street clothes.
Oh, the
for
hats.
Easter.
Right, the hats.
Easter bonnet.
That's what people go.
Oh, see, all the frills upon it. I get it now.
Yeah, you just wear the hat.
Right.
Except
No, not necessarily hats. Whatever a woman or a man normally wears, but it has to be newly purchased or obviously some springy motive in order to fit the Easter season.
There was not to spend too much time on Underdog, but there was a big breakthrough in promoting Underdog. Suzanne had mentioned to me that he's featured in the Frosted Cheerios commercial now, right, Suzanne?
He is in it, but I really wouldn't say that he's featured. He isn't on it that long.
And isn't Frosted Cheerios an old product anyway? Wasn't it available years ago?
Yes.
Under another name?
Sugar Frosted Cheerios actually appeared at least a generation ago. At that time, they were called Frosty-O's.
Ah. And was Underdog a key figure in their promotion then?
No.
Ah.
That's why you really can't say he's the star of the show in this new commercial, because the commercial has several actors in turn extolling the product. So when Underdog comes, he's on for only about 5 seconds, and he doesn't identify himself either. He just says that this cereal is available, and once he says it, you don't see him anymore. Also, when I see the product in the supermarket, I take a look at the boxes, and he is not on the boxes, and then neither is anybody else.
Suzanne, is it demeaning for him to be promoting breakfast cereal, though?
I really can't say. In fact, it was very baffling that he was used in that commercial at all, because he hasn't appeared in commercials for at least a quarter of a century.
Suzanne,
Yes?
can I ask, how did you develop your conception of how the underdog character should be portrayed? I mean, to my knowledge, the cartoon series was the original. The character originated with him. So how did you develop your differing conception of Underdog's portrayal?
Well, I said earlier that Underdog was patterned largely after Superman. When I was very little, there was this vintage TV series of Superman in which George Reeves played the part. I saw that, and then I was lured to the idea of Superman as this superhuman flying hero. Other fictional heroes I saw in time were not aerialists like Superman. And then when I was a preteen, my siblings watched the original Underdog cartoon series. I was not on it from the beginning. Something else that I watched would come immediately after Underdog. I would see only the tail end, and in time, curiosity got the better of me. So I began watching Underdog, and I recognized right away, because I'd seen Superman earlier, that Underdog and his powers were fashioned largely after Superman's.
Now, does Underdog have a weakness like Superman has kryptonite?
Well, the creators of the series made him have too much of a dependency on Polly, his girlfriend, in the permanent course of action.
The downfall of many a hero.
Well, also because Polly was made to be not very intelligent and always getting into serious trouble when she went to extremes.
She appeared to be a woman of low moral character as well.
Huh?
She, despite her name, she appeared to be of.
She wore rouge, I think.
Yeah, she was a painted lady.
It sounds like a very noir setup in a way.
Well,
Woman
public figures, especially, TV news people, always have to wear a lot of makeup to make them look their best.
Oh, but she just looked like a common whore.
Oh, come on, John.
Come on, now you're putting some profanity in this.
I'm sorry.
It's not necessary.
I'm very sorry. But my
Although
point
your
is,
point is well taken.
Thank you. I mean, the truth is, I think Polly was beneath Underdog's attentions. I think he could have done a lot better for himself.
Although for Shoeshine
For
Boy, she was
Shoeshine
quite
Boy,
a
yeah,
catch.
she was a walk uptown. But I mean, Underdog could have had all kinds of women.
Well, he really didn't care about any women except
What are you saying?
Polly.
Except for Polly.
Except for Polly.
Oh,
John is jumping the gun here a little bit, I think.
sorry, I'm just excitable.
Well, you were asking me how did I come about my interpretation on it. Well, since he was an aerialist like Superman, I wondered how I felt the urge I had to portray his part. How was I supposed to fly? I mean, obviously I can't launch myself into the air. Well, kind of
Don't try
like a
this at all.
diver might do, because I just fall to earth right away. But then there was a Dennis the Menace comic book showing his prudish girl neighbor Margaret taking ballet lessons, and some of the steps that Dennis watched her do made her appear superhuman. So I figured then
Margaret?
So you identified with Margaret from Dennis the Menace?
because this particular story showed her taking ballet lessons and doing the movements publicly, well, in front of Dennis and in front of all the other students in her class.
Billy also, right?
What?
Billy, Dennis's friend.
I always identified with Joey myself.
Oh, Joey.
No, not Joey. Dennis just visited Margaret's class, so that the only other people he saw were her classmates and her ballet teacher.
Was Dennis the Menace serious enough, or was that a little too silly?
What are you talking about? Generally, or just this one story?
Generally. Yeah, I would say generally.
Generally.
Well, since he's just a kindergartner or just beginning grammar school, he tends to get into trouble, but then you have to, because at that age, you're still pretty much innocent. Just a little child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about his witnessing Margaret making physical movements that made her appear superhuman, especially when it came to big jumps, leaps, spins. Real life ballet dancers are sometimes extolled as being, kind of otherworldly or, extraordinary, superhuman. With some of the motions they have to go through. So I figured that dance was the best way to portray Underdog. I began taking dance lessons, and that's why if you were to see me live or on television, I'd be making big bounding movements or making motions that are supposed to represent flying without being supported on wires or other additional apparatus. Because
Did you ever try doing the Underdog act in the water? The buoyancy would.
That wouldn't work. What do you mean, making the same kind of movements immersed in water?
In water, I thought the buoyancy of the water might make you appear to fly.
No, it wouldn't work in that. In the first place, the water, I become weighed down wearing my costume in the water.
You're right. I'm sorry. It's silly.
And also, yeah, because when you, what do you think when you do normal swimming? You're not wearing all your clothes. You're wearing bathing suits.
Yeah.
So you carry a lot
I've
less
never seen
weight.
John at the pool.
Yeah.
Oh, and especially
Very
since
modest.
Underdog has to wear a cape. I'd have all that extra material dragging behind me. If I was trying to spin around or roll around, the cape would flop over me. So in water, water performance is an impractical medium.
Well, Suzanne, we're actually running a bit short of time now. Are you going to be seen anywhere in the near future that we can look out for you? Will there be Suzanne on the airwaves anywhere or on TV?
The block
dance?
party circuit?
No, I'm afraid not. You asked. I think earlier you asked before had I been on television things. Yes, I've been on television talk shows and variety shows ranging from they were mostly area network affiliate and cable,
kind of
in
like
different
Beyond
parts of the country.
Right.
I was not on any television program nationwide simultaneously. Now, to get back to your question, when's my next scheduled appearance? It's Saturday the 20th. That's 2 weeks from this Saturday. It's at 12 noon. It's in Ocean City, New Jersey, which is 5 to 10 miles south of Atlantic City. Every year in the latter half of April, they have what's called a doodah parade, and in this case, it's Saturday, April 20th, 12 noon.
12 noon, okay, at the Doodah Parade.
Ocean City, New Jersey.
Do you dance in the parade then, or you're walking? How do we know it's you? How are we going to know it's you?
I'd be in some kind of costume. Now, depending on who or what I'm supposed to be, I might be simply just walking and waving the way I do with Irish Cinderella, or if I'm doing some other character that lends itself to more dramatic moves, I have to keep processing forward to stay with the line.
Right.
But then, depending on who or what I'm supposed to do, I may or may not incorporate additional relevant movements.
Now, Suzanne, when people come to see you, when you perform live at street fairs and in parades, how should they address you? You don't like to be called the Underdog Lady, do you?
That was
Suzanne.
an exploitive term, which no one ever called me before until that wicked radio man made the expression up.
Who?
Well, so I mean,
would it be all right to call you Underdog?
If I'm wearing that costume, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A lot of total
Naturally.
strangers might not know who I am. They might just acknowledge me in my costume. Some people who may know me more might call me by my real name, but then if they address me character-wise, they have to be somewhat already pre-acquainted with my costumes and whatever characters I'm supposed to be.
Well, it's kind of.
I just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah, I mean, it's understandable that they would call you that just because that's one of your main causes, but I mean, I understand also that you might not want to be called that, so it's kind of like I don't like being called the Nightcap, because the show's the Nightcap show, but that's another case altogether.
It's a
No,
cross we all have to bear.
I understand the similarity or the analogy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully it'll be some nice warm weather by Saturday, April 20th, so we can all make it down there to Ocean City, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of that town?
Yes, I have, actually. I think I've been there. It's at the Jersey Shore, right?
Big
That's
summer
what they
town.
call the Jersey Shore. I've been to a couple of those places.
Yes.
It's very nice, and especially for the beginning of the summer, which we hope we'll be having by then,
With any luck.
finally.
And Suzanne, you're going to do the Mermaid Parade later in the summer?
Well, the Mermaid Parade is on the boardwalk at Coney Island.
Right.
Now, I don't know yet whether there's going to be another one this year.
Oh.
But if they
Well, I
do
know a
have
lot
it,
of
then yes, I
FMU
would.
listeners enjoy it.
Yeah, actually, it is a very big WFMU event, so if there's a parade and you're there, we'll...
But the previous 2 or 3 times when I've been in it, I have not seen any WFMU equipment on the site.
Well,
But the
just
listeners come out
the
in force.
listeners. Oh, yeah, it's a very big event for the WFMU crowd. Actually, some of the DJs, I think, even do the announcing for the proceedings and things. I think maybe Chris T might have been the announcer
Right.
at a few of them.
I know Wild Girl did
Yeah,
one.
Wild Girl does some. These are all WFMU people. So there's a tie-in there, definitely. So if there's a parade, we'll see you there?
I beg your pardon?
If there's a mermaid parade, we'll see you there then?
I suppose so.
Great. Well, thanks for being a guest.
Suzanne!
And
I hope I answered all your questions adequately and also explained enough about myself in general. I remember I said you brought up the character of Underdog. That's probably what I'm best known for, but it's not the only characterization I do. And sometimes I don't do characterizations at all.
Right.
I
Well,
have to be diverse, flexible. Lots of performing artists do that.
right. Okay, well, thanks so much, and good luck to you. And we'll look for you either at the Mermaid Parade or this Saturday the 20th. And
As
we'll
Leonard
stop by
Cohen
and say hi.
sang,
Excuse me,
Suzanne.
what did you say?
We'll stop and say
I
hi.
heard.
good night.
No, Frank was saying something. I didn't hear what he said.
Oh no, I was just I just wanted to wish you a good night, Suzanne, and we look forward to having you on many more times on the show.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, goodbye. Have a good night.
Bye bye.
Well, there we go. One of your regulars.
Suzanne, she's one of our favorites, and our fans love her too.
Yeah, she's very sweet.
She's sweet
evergreen.
and learned, and there are many facets.
And she seems very vulnerable. Right?
She is a sweet soul.
Yeah. So yeah, you have all sorts of guests. I was just seeing that the Del Rubio triplets are